Being an entrepreneur takes dedication and commitment. It can also be very lonely, especially in the beginning when the hard choices between hanging out with buddies and missing the occasional family group outing. But hopefully not too much of that latter one's going on. Yet it can also be so rewarding because being in business enables you to show the world your strengths, while at the same time it asks you to be vulnerable enough to expose your weaknesses. Well, today my guest shares what it is like to own multiple flourishing businesses and keep his health and family as a top priority. But before we get into all that, I just want to remind you, if you're interested in raising your standards as a father, a husband, an entrepreneur, I encourage you to participate in our Band of Brothers group mentorship program. We're a group of ordinary guys working towards living extraordinary lives. You can find all this information at the Awakened Man Training Academy at members.theawakenedman.net. With that, let's get on with today's episode.
The average man today is sleepwalking through life, many never reaching their true potential, let alone ever crossing the finish line to living a purposeful life. Yet, the hunger still exists, albeit buried amidst his cluttered mind, misguided beliefs, and values that no longer serve him. It's time to align yourself for greatness. It's time to become a revolutionary man. Stay strong, my brother.
Welcome, everyone, to the Revolutionary Man podcast. I'm the founder of the Awakened Man movement and your host, Alan. So let me ask you a question. Does your business take all of your time, and so much so that you neglect your health and your family? It's a slippery slope that I know all too well. Yeah, I'm working hard at my business, but I can actually say, am I doing the same thing with my health? And definitely I could get much better at spending time with my family. Well, today, my guest is a serial entrepreneur whose passion for business almost exceeds his passion that fuels all the other passions, and that is maintaining a strong and healthy body. So allow me to introduce my guest. Matt Sinosky was born and raised in Western Pennsylvania, where he still resides today with his wife and kids. Matt's career spans working in the insurance industry, which is what he still does today. And on top of that, he started a cannabis business in 2019, followed that up by purchasing 2 contracting businesses along with some real estate in 2021. Like I told you, this guy is a serial entrepreneur. And his real passion, though, resides in the fitness space, where he has been active for more than 10 years and recently started taking on coaching clients online. Welcome to the show, Matt. How are things today, brother?
Alan, excuse me. Thanks for having me today, man. It's a pleasure to be on. I knew from the first time we chatted, man, I definitely wanted to do this. I appreciate everything you're doing. You're obviously doing an awesome job with your mission. So I'd love to be on here, and hopefully we can talk about some good stuff that can help some people out.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to do that. Absolutely. And I as well really appreciated our initial connection. I'm always looking for inspiring stories and inspiring ways to tell guys and show guys how we can lead, purposeful lives. And you definitely have that. And so, as you know, in our work here at the Awakened Man, we always talk about all of us being on our hero's quest or our hero's journey. And so tell us about what inspired you to pursue the life that you live today, and how that experience has shaped you into the man you are and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So, when we talk about, my hero's quest, as you refer to it, that really didn't happen for me until, I had kids. And it wasn't just when I had kids, but it was when those kids grew up a little bit and, became aware of the man that I am as the person who influences them the most. So, prior to that, I was content in what I did. I had really no ambition or no passion to pursue anything beyond what was in front of me. I had a decent job. What I consider now, when I made this, I'd consider myself broke at this point, based on what I was making and the job that I was doing at that time, which this is going back probably 13, 14 years now. But I just didn't have any drive to do anything else. I wasn't in great shape. I was overweight. I ate all the wrong things and at the wrong times. I drank too much. I wasn't a good example for my kids or anyone around me, for that matter. I wasn't some horrible human being, but I just wasn't living at a level that I was capable of. So that's when I really, my kids were probably about 2 and 4 when I realized, like, man, if I want them to have me as an example, to be able to use me as an example, to grow up and maybe have a little bit of drive, a little bit of passion themselves, then I need to step up my game. I need to start looking at things differently. Both from a financial perspective. We are a single income household. My wife has been a stay-at-home mother, and now she works in some of the businesses that we do and helping out that way. But when my kids were little, she was a stay-at-home mother, single income household. So there was like a financial drive there. I think it's foolish to say otherwise. We're raising a family on a single income, needed more money. So like there was a drive there for me to do that. Like I have to earn more to provide for this family. And then there was also this drive to really, what kind of example am I going to set for these kids? Are they going to see, when they grow up and they become teenagers and young adults, are they going to see a dad who goes out and does a job he hates for 8 hours, 10 hours a day, whatever that is, and comes home and sits on the couch and drinks beer and waits for dinner to be ready, drinks more beer, sits on the couch, goes to bed? Like, what are they going to see? Or are they going to see a dad who's passionate about the things that he does, who is in as good a shape as any 42-year-old you probably meet? Not that there's people out there that are better. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to take this the wrong way. But when you look at the average 42-year-old, I'm working out 7 days a week. 7 days a week, I'm doing something. There's that. There's a level of discipline in that they see. The actual physical shape that I'm in, aesthetically looking at me, a body that you can be proud of, a body that has the freedom to do whatever, go on trips, hike, bike, ski, swim, whatever that is, practice MMA, do all these things. Like, that's someone, as now my kids are 14 and 16, that they can look up to. So, when that all settled in for me back when they were younger, it started out as small things like, hey, I'm going to run a 5K. And that running that one 5K turned into me running almost daily, and running a bunch of different ones, and then half marathons, and then trail runs, and then things like that. And, it just morphed. It's just these little things that there was that one 5K that was a fundraiser for work that like set it off for me, where like, I can do this. And I did it. And then that got me into like, hey, I should get back in the gym, because like when I was younger, I wasn't always lazy and unambitious. I was an athlete when I was growing up. I was in the military from 2001 to 2007. So like I had this background where I knew I wasn't in great shape. I just didn't care. So then from that little bit of running, it turned into buying myself a little home gym, starting to work out a little bit, to slowly over the course of 4 or 5 years, seeing some success in working out, and other people seeing that in me and asking for some help. Like people who were in a far worse physical position than I was, saying, hey, you were 240 pounds before, and now you're down to 190. How'd you get there? Like, the first one was my cousin. He was, man, he's my success story. You guys are going to see if you end up following me on Instagram and watching some of the content I put out. This dude was 400 pounds, like a literal 400 pounds, and, missed out on half of his life. Like, just couldn't do anything. Like, you're 400 pounds. Like, there's things that there are physical limitations. Like, there's things you can't do. So he had this goal, and I started just giving him some instruction. I mean, the credit's all his. Like, he's super disciplined. But he had the humility and to ask for help, and then the willingness to get in the gym and do it and do the things in the kitchen that he needed to do. And, so he went over the course of, it took a long time, but over the course of about 3 or 4 years, he went from 400 all the way down to 230, which was our first goal to get to, was 230 pounds, because we wanted to go skydiving together.
Right
And
on.
you needed to weigh 230 pounds was a weight limit to do a tandem jump at the local place where we could have went. So he hit that in 2017, and now today, man, he shredded. He's about 200 pounds, maybe a little north of there. And since then, we've run in Tough Mudders. We went out to Colorado and climbed six 14,000-foot peaks. We did a bunch of big hikes out in Glacier National Park. We just came back from a ski trip out in Telluride. In that, really for me was the thing, like watching someone do that and sort of going through it with them. Like this was sort of remotely. I was just giving a little bit of instruction. Like I said, he did it all on his own. But like that was the thing for me, like, man, like you can literally change the course of someone's life through this. Like change the man's life. He changed his life by getting in shape, by losing weight. Like you're talking about, looks great, feels great, can move great, can do all these things that he never had a chance to do from age whatever, probably like late teen through early 40s. Now he's 48 doing stuff that he couldn't do when he was 28. And there's this freedom in that. You know what I mean? Like my whole thing, like I wrote, he actually inspired me to write a little book, which was my first stab at doing anything. And, looking back on it, whatever, I published a book, but it was really kind of garbage, but it was my original work, right? It was the first time I ever did it. And for anyone thinking about writing a book out there, like it's a daunting task, like to even write a short book. So I did it, and the title of the book was Freedom Through Fitness.
Right on.
And that's just kind of my perspective on it. Like that's the thing that I think it brings you. Like it just brings you this freedom to be able to do anything you want to do. Like it brings you a level of confidence that other people don't have. It opens up doors to do things, physical activities. It brings a level of discipline. Like it transcends going to the gym every morning. It really does. And there's people who listen to this, and there's people who hear me speak. You're like, that's a bunch of BS. But hey, man, when you're living it, like I can tell you right now, like if you are not in shape now, and whether you do it on your own or you work with someone, you get in shape, it will change your life. It will change it.
Oh, without
that's
a
why
doubt.
I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, for sure. And without a doubt, you can't live the life that you're living and growing and changing other lives in the other work that you do without being physically in a good shape, taking care of your body fully. And and that's why it's so important, right? You can be a couch potato and sit there and be like Homer Simpson and just drink beer all day and not really accomplish anything in life. Or you can grab the bull by the horns and really go out and get after it. And that's really what I like about your inspiring story. And I just want to go back. You talked about, how you were just content with life. And I when you said that, I just felt like a sword go through my heart. How many times in my life and in our lives, we think about, well, we were just content, and what a poor place to be in, because really it just means that, everything's just okay. And to live a life that's just okay, just, it just gives me the creeps to want to ever be in that place. And it's part of the reason why I'm passionate about doing this work that I do with men's work, and also the drive for you. And then the other thing I noted down, I made tons of notes here, but the other thing that I really liked about was how you talked about how you wanted to be a role model for your kids, even at 2 and 4, and today they're young teenagers, and be a role model. And first question I asked is is that something that you saw with your father as well, or father figures in your life that you wanted to emulate, or did that come from somewhere else?
Yeah, I think it was. I'll address that part first. I think it was a mix of things. I grew up. My dad was a Pennsylvania state trooper. admirable dude, like, man of high integrity. He was all about that life. And, he was a guy, big, strong dude, man, like strapping dude. And, that's another, but yeah, it's a shame that I kind of glazed over this piece of it that was kind of an influential thing for me. I was already heading in the direction of my kids at this time were probably 5 and 7. And my old man went from, being this 230-pound, like just he was in the gym, like barrel chested guy, to he got leukemia and, within less than a year passed away.
Wow.
And during that time, him and I had a lot of conversations that difficult conversations. One of the things that he passed along to me was he regretted this level of contentment that he had in his life. Like he was he lived a fine life, you know what I mean? Like he was a state cop. He loved his job, but he never went for any promotions because that meant moving, and didn't want to, lose time with the family or whatever. For whatever reasons, he didn't do it. So like that's kind of sucked the ambition out of him from what he told me. And, one of his bits of advice to me, through that year as him and I were talking was like, hey, if there's one thing, like, he's like, I wish I had more ambition. He's like, I wish I would have taken some risks. I wish I would have done all these things. So I kind of took that. Like I was already headed in that direction. Like that was a few years into getting myself back in shape. And, that happened. And, after that, I was just like, well, man, I'm going full steam ahead into it. Like if there's something I feel like the urge to do, or I need to do this, like I'm doing it. Like I'm not letting fear or risk hold me back from it. So I guess in part, it wasn't necessarily something by example that I saw.
Yeah.
It was more advice from him from a regret that he had, that he held that inside of him, because like at that time when he was only 59 when he passed away, but in the Pennsylvania State Police, you put 25 years in, you retire with your full retirement. So he retired actually at the age of 49. And then he was working some, that state police job led into some security jobs, and he spent about 10 years, in private industry doing some work. But, he had a fine career and everything, but, that sat with him strong enough and long enough that he made it a point to tell me that. So I was just like, well, okay, if it weighed on him like that, like, what's he gonna, it's gonna weigh on me. Like, and I'm not gonna, that's a great piece that like I'll always hold with me that I got.
What a great, and what a great lesson to have. And right. And I really want to honor you for bringing that story forward and sharing that with us, because I think as we think about and talk about, mentors in our lives and the role models that we look to, sometimes it isn't about the action, but it's the lesson that they give you, and then what we're doing with that and how we implement it and really embody that into our lives. And you've done that, magnificently with your life. So I was in the opening intro, I was talking about all the different businesses you have and the work that you're doing. Tell me what it's like to have a day in the life for Matthew. Like what does a typical day look like for you, man?
Yeah. So as you said, I spent my career in the insurance business, and that's still where I make my full-time living. So, that's where I devote my full-time time during the day. Like a day in the life, like here this morning, I'll run you through this morning. Like this was a very, very, very typical day for me this morning. I get up, I'm usually up by 4 a.m., if not earlier. And I am at the gym between 4:30 and I get to the gym between 4:30 and 5 a.m. And I will spend, depending on the day it is, like I will lift weights and I'm maybe do a CrossFit class that same day, get out of there by about 6:30. And then I'm home and I got about an hour with the kids and I take them to school. So we do breakfast, a cup of coffee, take them to school. I'm back home at 7:30, and like 7:30 to 8:30, like that's when I handle all my odds and ends for the other stuff that I'm involved in. And I'm fortunate in that the other things I'm involved in, with the exception of the real estate, which my wife manages, I have business partners in my other businesses that they're operational partners. Like, I'm a financial partner. I handle administrative stuff. I handle financial stuff, but it doesn't suck my time during the day. So, once around 8:30, 9 o'clock rolls around, I'm showered up. I'm sitting right where I'm sitting right now, and I'm in front of my computer when I'm not traveling, and I'm hammering out work for the insurance business, till about lunchtime. When I take a break from lunch, and right now it's a little bit different schedule for me because I am going. If you guys check out my Instagram, like, and scroll back to when I started it, like, I started this with like doing a big cut in the fall, like, so cut 35 pounds. Not that there's before and afters, you guys can check that out, but I cut 35 pounds I didn't even know I needed to lose, and that's a chore. So I'm doing a little mini cut now, because now I put weight back on intentionally, and I want to cut weight back down. So now I'm doing a little mini cut. So I'm doubling up my workouts for not every day, but a few days a week. So today, boom, lunchtime, a quick bite to eat, back to the gym, and just did 45 minutes of some cardio, like just low intensity, just 45 minutes of grinding it out.
Right.
And then I'm back home, another few hours of the insurance work. I put in my time. And that work never shuts off, like, it's constant emails. I was answering emails right before this call, so I can't even quantify the hours a day I put into it. And then throughout the week, like, I'll have some strategic calls for my other businesses, like, because, like, I'm not engaged in the day-to-day operations, but I am engaged strategically in them. The CBD business is predominantly an e-commerce business. We sell the bulk of our product online. We do have 2 storefronts that, one of them I own the real estate. That was my entry point into real estate. It's a mixed use property with some retail, which we occupy on the first floor, and then some residential properties on the second floor, or second and third floor. And then, so that business, there's really not a lot to do hands-on day to day. It's more really strategic execution of marketing plans, things like that. And then the other business is a contracting business that I bought out. Actually bought out 2 contractors. It was funny. This was back in like August of 2021. They were here at the same time. One of them's cutting my grass. He's got his little crew of guys, and he's cutting my grass and doing my landscaping. And the other one is putting new gutters on my house. And I'm here working from home, and I just go outside and I'm BSing with them. And the older guy who owned the gutter company was like, he's saying how he wanted to retire and wanted to sell the business. I just asked him how much he wanted. He threw out a number, and I was like, I'll buy it for that much. I'll buy it. Like, I just thought, like, I don't know. It was a very, very spur of the moment thing. And the younger guy who owned the contracting or the landscaping company, he come up and he's like, what are you guys talking about? I said, I just bought his business. And I said, we chatted for a little bit, and the older gentleman left, and Zach, my partner, he's like, why don't you buy me out too? I'm like, listen, I said, I don't need it. I'm buying this guy out. He's retiring. I think I could make his money back pretty quick. I said, I can't run all this. He's like, well, no. He's like, buy me out, and then we'll be partners in it, and I'll run the stuff in the field. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Like, so it happened it happened in my yard in the afternoon, like in no time. I went from like having no interest in doing this. And that business is going extremely well. Like, we have tripled the size of it in a year and a half. And, we've got, there's 5 full-time employees now. He went from having a couple part-timers. We got 5 full-time guys, and just have expanded, adding on another crew this year. It's going well. We're marketing it now, buying equipment, doing all this stuff. So yeah, it's going nice. Right. And so my wife, she just started working for me a few weeks ago, and we're going to see how this goes. So see if she likes it.
Well, we talked about having family involved, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And it's gotten to a point where like the administrative work has become like real work now. Yeah. So I needed someone I found myself sitting here and this is a bit of advice for anybody out there who's an entrepreneur. I found myself sitting here with my time consumed with activities that weren't making me any money. I'm talking like signing and mobile depositing checks, paying bills that are coming through my email, or physical bills that we got to write checks out for, calling people to collect money. Like these are all things that are like, there's a reason that big companies have, you know, people who handle accounts receivable, who handle accounts payable, who are administrative assistants, who do all these things. And that's so the people who are the visionaries, the people who are in the operations, have the opportunity to do the things that they need to do to continue to grow the businesses. So, you know, setting up processes and pushing that work off that is, I don't know what the right word is for, but like, let's just say non-revenue generating work or administrative type work. Like, let's just get that off of my plate so that I can focus my stuff, my time, and my energy and my thoughts on growing the business. Like, so for, you know, the first year or so, it was just like, well, I can do this. Why should I pay someone to do that? I think most, I'll say this, most. So if you are an entrepreneur and you are sucked into this, most entrepreneurs do that. Yeah. And most entrepreneurs think like that. And the one thing, I do a lot of speaking engagements with a local college. Like, I'll go in and talk to a class or business class, a marketing class, or whatever. I had an opportunity to go in and sit on a panel of entrepreneurs at a local business school. And one of the big things, like my big takeaway, like when you become an entrepreneur, is almost everybody who becomes an entrepreneur, they do so because they love the thing they do, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll use myself as an example. Like, I am growing this fitness business because I have a passion for fitness. What percentage of the work it takes to grow this do you think is actually doing the fitness work?
Oh, maybe 5%.
Code. Yeah, that exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Like, you're right. I spend 95% of my time working on things that have nothing to do with helping my clients. Yeah. Like, it's setting up systems so that sales funnels and systems so that you can market the business, so you can get clients in the door. It's doing the sales. It's setting up the billing. It's setting up all the processes. There's just all of this stuff. And you can take that example, like, maybe you're a great plumber and you start a business doing plumbing. Well, that very, very quickly, that work dries up because you're doing all the plumbing and you aren't generating new business. Like, it becomes less about, like, so you almost have to look past what it is you're doing. You obviously have to like what you do, right? But I think entrepreneurs often fail is because they're so passionate about the thing that they do that rather than start to push that thing off. And I'll use the trades as an example: plumber, electrician, carpenter, whatever. Rather than hire another plumber to do the plumbing, like, they continue to try to run the business and do the plumbing or the electricity or whatever it is they're doing.
You think that's out of fear?
What I think it's out of, I think there's two reasons. I think there's one, they really like to do it, and there's an element of control that they want, right? Because like with me, like with the coaching thing, I'm going to be, unless I get someone I really trust working with me, like, I'm going to have a hard time handing it off, because, like, I sell a high ticket coaching item, and the reason I sell a high ticket coaching item is because it's worth it. Mm-hmm. Like, I charge this price for a 16-week program, but I'm going to give you all of the knowledge that you'll be able to do this forever. You'll be able to sustain it forever if it's something that you want to do. And even if you don't, if you follow what I say, you're going to get results in 16 weeks. Now, it takes, when I'm doing that, I have people who won't follow what I'm doing. It takes me staying on them constantly. And like, I take ownership of that. You sign a contract with me and you pay me a couple $1,000. You bet your ass, like, I am going to make sure that I'm holding up my end of that bargain.
Mhm.
Like, now I can't make you, but I can do everything that I can to persuade you, to influence you, to motivate you, to inspire you to do those things so that you see those results. Like, and that's what you're paying me for. Like, I'll have some guys tell me, like, dude, you are a pain in the ass. I'm like, well, you talk to these clients over here, I'm not, because they're listening to me already. Like, I'm not texting them every day. I'm texting you every day because you're not listening.
Yeah.
So I say all that because, like, can I trust someone else to do that?
Yeah.
If I'm not the one doing it. So, like, now I'm over here growing this business and I'm paying trainers to train people on my behalf. It's a hard thing. Like, you eventually have to do that if you want to scale, because, like,
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, as someone who's a doer, you are your own bottleneck.
Yeah.
Like, I can only train so many people.
Yeah.
And right now I have about 20 clients, and I think when I get up to 30 or 40, like, I will probably be to the point where I need a trainer under me,
Yeah.
who's using they're training the way I want. Like I'd approve all the plans, all the direction with everybody, all the programming, but, like, they're handling the day to day. Like, it's the way it will have to be.
Yeah.
If I want to scale this to a point where it's something that's big enough and sustainable to where it's a business for me. It's a full-time income. So that is the decision that you get pushed into as an entrepreneur. Unless, I'd say there is this but. But if you are if you just, your aspirations are, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, like, your aspirations are just to be a sole proprietor, and you just have to understand, like, that your earning potential is going to be capped by that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, and there's nothing wrong with that, man. Like, the guy I bought the gutter business off of, he had a great life for himself. He did it by himself. He was an owner operator with a couple of helpers. And that's fine. Like, he made a fine living for himself. He winters down in Florida.
Bought himself a job, basically, right?
Exactly. So it is, I tell even the people I'm training for fitness this, like whatever it is, it's going to make you happy, right?
Yeah.
We sit here and I talk about, like, me, I'm with you. You mentioned this earlier. Like, I will never, ever, ever be comfortable or content. And that's just going to be me. Like, that, I'm not saying that that's right, but, like, for me, what makes me happy is chasing all this stuff and finding success and helping other people and doing this. If that's not you, that's okay. But, like, I think a lot of people become entrepreneurs because of the draw and the opportunity to really make something for themselves.
Yeah.
And if that is the reason you're drawn into it, then I think you need to think about, like, I got to be careful about how passionate I am about this thing, because eventually I'm going to have to let this thing go, or you're going to have to partner with someone who can grow and run a business while you still do the thing it is that you started the business for.
Yeah. Well, and what I really like about
that's very rare. That's very rare, though. That's very, very rare that you see a partnership go that way.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I really appreciate, everything that what you're saying here, Matt, is that you're still, in your entire day, even with all the businesses and everything going on, you're still finding time. You're putting time in there for family. And that's the other thing. In the first time we got together, I really was inspired by hearing you talk about that, about how family was still important and plays a part in your role. And at this stage now, you have your wife involved and doing some of the administrative stuff. And so I think that's also a key message for guys to take away, that, man, you can have lots of drive and do and go after things. But when you have things in the right order and the right priority, you still can keep your body in shape, keep your family involved. You're doing it the right way. And so I think that's really key.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like, there is a balance there. not that time with your family isn't sacrificed when it needs to be, but I prioritize, we do it. We're fortunate, like we're friends with a lot of the families that our kids are friends with. So we spend a lot of time like as a group, like, so that rather than us running off and hanging out with friends and our kids going with friends, we spend a lot of joint time together with other families.
Nice.
Which there's more opportunity to influence, other fathers, other mothers, other parents, and then never, ever, ever miss kids' sporting events. Like I can count the times maybe on one hand in the last, let's see, my son's 14, daughter 16, and the last decade that I've missed any sporting events at all. Like, so go to all of those, coach where I can. My kids are a little bit older now. They're into high school, junior high sports. And I'm on our school board. So I keep myself out of coaching, but the whole time from the time they were, 5 years old and started playing T-ball till they got into junior high, I coached. So I try to prioritize, as much family time as I can. And that's why and it's little things, man. It's little things that can be meaningful. It's taking my son to the gym. It's, running my daughter to work. It's being there every morning. I go work out super, super early and I'm home before they wake up so that I can wake them up so that even though they're teenagers, they don't like it all the time, but, give them a little bite to eat for breakfast.
Yeah.
And then I drive them to school rather than riding the bus or going with a friend. Like I drive them to school and that gives me, takes us till we sit in line and whatever, we're in the car and we're chatting and, we're doing our thing. So like, that's my little bit of time with them. Like, even though it eats up a half hour of my day, like I do that just to do it.
Yeah. Well, and what you're doing is you're busting the myth of this work-life balance. And I wrote an article about this a while back, and really the idea of work-life balance and being not so much about having them to be equal, but making sure that the quality of time that we're spending with our family, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that quality time, that dad's around, that their husband's around, and you're emulating that. You're showing it. So a great role model for your kids, and you're doing this with other families. And so, man, I just got to say, Matthew, I think that's just so inspiring. But listen, at this stage, you've got all this stuff going on. What would you say today would be your biggest insecurity?
My biggest insecurity is still, and I don't think this goes away. And I think that if you don't have it, that, you it's kind of foolish, but like, I have this massive fear of failing, like just overwhelming fear of failing. But yet there's this dichotomy there because like I have this belief that like it could all go away tomorrow and I'll just rebuild it. Like, I'll figure it out. But so I have this insecurity that like I'm not running these businesses right, that they're going to fail, that, whatever. But then there's this confidence I have back here that's like, well, listen, you did this before. You just do it again. Like, we'll figure out a way to make money again, like whatever it is. So, that's my biggest thing that, just the constant, and it's a powerful, it's a powerful feeling. And if it's a feeling you need to get comfortable with as an entrepreneur, because, I'm going to tell you, for those of you who don't have your own business, like there is the constant pressure and stress of having to generate incoming revenue and spend your earnings, basically. Like you have to, like, otherwise you can't sit on it because it just gets hammered with taxes and everything else. So like you got to be constantly spending, reinvesting, and then that depletes cash, and now you got to earn more cash over here, and it's just this constant cash flow situation. So I think that fear is healthy, and it's something that you have to get comfortable with. Like, as strong as it may be, it's just like you just got to get used to it if you're going to run a business, and you can't get careless with it. You know, I'll tell other guys I know who own businesses that, you know, they'll be like, dude, you sit on too much cash. You're too conservative with this. You know, that may be an area, like, as much risk as I take when it comes to cash flow, like I'm pretty protective of that.
Mhm.
You know, I invest back in our businesses, but like I always hang on to enough cash to be comfortable. And, you know, I don't know that that necessarily is right. We get away with it right now because we're a pretty young business and we have a lot of write-offs and stuff that we can do. But like, there's going to come a time where I need to get more comfortable with spending that money, which is going to add to that pressure and that fear. But it's just, I say all this to let you guys know that this is just the nature of being an entrepreneur and the nature
Yeah,
of having your own business.
absolutely. Listen, when all the chips are down, what is the one resource? Maybe it's a skill or attribute, whatever it is, but what would be that one resource that you lean on in order to get you moving forward?
I would say that is, if we're talking just like internally, it's just a discipline.
Mm,
And I've stolen this from, or learned this, however you want to say it, you know, probably about, well, I don't know, probably been 7, 8 years ago now, when I was introduced to Jocko Willink, and, you know, his whole perspective on stuff. You know, I can remember the first time I listened to some of his podcasts, and I'm there with my wife. I'm like, you got to listen to this guy. I said, he says the same things I said. It was very like, it was affirmation for me, and how, and like, so it made me just like go just head first into, like, and just commit to that. You know, how it's, you know, he says it all the time, like, there's no such thing as motivation. It's all about discipline. But yeah, so I just rely on, I know I do things the right way.
mm,
And, it can be easy when you get pressured with stuff to panic and make decisions that are out of character for you,
mhm.
that when you start pressing, you make the wrong decisions. You make decisions with haste and everything. And, you know, I just, I'm generally pretty calm. I don't get excited about stuff. And I just rely on that discipline to just like keep plugging away at,
Right on.
and making those right decisions. Like, cause you're gonna have times you face, I don't care what kind of business you're gonna have ups and downs. You're gonna have good years, you know, good months, good quarters, good years, and you're gonna have bad months, bad quarters, bad years. That's gonna be the way it is. And, but you can't make decisions that are dictated by those circumstances that you're facing at that time.
Yeah. Makes total sense, right? It's because you've developed that practice, and I was interested to find out what that would be. And I'm not surprised to hear that the discipline becomes that skill or that attribute that you fall on and it fall back to. And I think as
And it, you
entrepreneurs,
know,
we do that. But go ahead.
yeah, the second thing I was going to say there is, like, there's another thing that's, you know, it's not necessarily me, but I've built relationships through the course of doing all of these businesses. And I'm going to tell you this, like, there's good people out there to help you
Mm,
if you ask for it. Um, I am constantly, I am a believer in, you get what you give. Like, so I am constantly helping other people constantly. And I do that for, you know, two reasons. One, I want to help, you know, um, and two, I still got you there. You blacked out on me for a sec. Um, but the other reason is like, I know if I'm willing to help these people, there might be a day where I need their help. You
yeah.
know, just right before this call, I got a call from a buddy of mine. He's running for a local office, and, you know, I won a local office a year and a half ago. Um, so I'm sharing all of my knowledge with him. To
Mm,
get together with him, meet with him. I'm there at his place. I get a call. I got, you know, someone else I know needs help moving something. Boom, I'm running over there before I get on this call and help them out. Taking calls from people who want to talk about stuff with the school because I'm on the board. It's just like there's this constant, and the more relationships you have, the more people you're going to have doing that. So that's the other thing I rely on when
yeah.
I don't need to do it often, but when push comes to shove, like people know because of relationships I've built with them, if I'm calling for help, that they're going to be there to help.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great point as well, right? It's all about building relationships, whether we're in business formally or not, are the fulfillment in our life is really part of how we grow our relationships. And I think that's such a key point. Of everything that we spoke
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. So of everything that we spoke about today, and maybe there was something we didn't get a chance to touch on, what would be the one takeaway you'd want our listeners to have?
So, the one thing, and I say this, like, this is me, but I'm going to just say, like, there's risks out there. Life is short, man, and there's risks that we can take, whether that's with businesses, with relationships, um, with opportunities that we have to do and see things, experiences. Like, don't run away from those risks. Like take them, because like on the other side of those is, there's success, there's experience, there's all these things that so many people miss out on. There hasn't been not one thing in my life that I have this, I was met with a decision, I decided to do something and I regretted it. It doesn't happen, but there are things that I didn't do that I regret, like opportunities that I didn't take. Even if I took an opportunity that ended up being the wrong one, like I learned from it. Yeah. Took a job, wasn't the right job. I learned from it. But there have been opportunities where, I didn't take a job and I didn't go on a trip. Like, and those ended up being great opportunities that someone else got because I missed out on them. So I would just say, like, just pay attention to what life puts in front of you, and don't be afraid to take those opportunities and, dive head first, because even if you make the wrong decision, chances are you're going to come out either, at minimum, having learned something from it valuable that you can use the next time that you are posed with one of those decisions to make.
Man, love that. What a great takeaway for our listeners. I want to say thanks again, Matt, for being on the show. We've been able to lay some groundwork and some breadcrumbs for people to figure out how they can remove the excuses of being too busy in life to actually start taking care of their physical health, even as busy entrepreneurs as you are. So if men are interested in getting a hold of you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, if you, I'm sure you're going to put a link in your show notes or whatever, but if you hit me up on my Instagram, it's at Fit Virtas. That's Fit FITVIRTAS. Check that out. There'll be a link in there, and if you hit me up and let me know that you listen to this podcast, I mean, we'll do a free consult, give you a discount, do all that stuff. But happy to give some free advice, on if you just want to give you a 45-minute call, if you want to chat, there's never any obligations with that. If you find value and want to do some business together, great. If not, just mention that you're on this podcast, and, we can go ahead and do that, and we'll hook you up.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to make sure all that information's in the show notes for sure, so folks can reach out and get a hold of you. Once again, I want to say thanks a lot, Matt, for being on the show. We had an outstanding conversation today.
Awesome, Alan. Thank you, man. Keep it up, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Revolutionary Man podcast. Are you ready to own your destiny? To become more the man you are destined to be? Join the brotherhood that is the Awakened Man at theawakenedman.net and start forging a new destiny today.